Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It is 7 p.m. and time to open the Westfield, Washington Township Advisory Plan Commission meeting for Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. Will staff please confirm the presence of a quorum?
Ms. Berkman?
Here.
Mr. Deck?
Here.
Mr. Horkay?
Here.
Mr. Johns?
Here.
Dr. Kelleher?
Here.
Mr. Maui?
Here.
Mr. McCarty?
Here.
Mr. Schmitz?
Here.
Ms. Boljaric? We have a quorum.
Thank you. Item first is the approval of our minutes of the June 6th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion to accept these minutes into the record? Anyone?
Turn on my mic. Move to accept the minutes from our last, June 6th, 2022 minutes as written.
I'll second.
Just before you take a vote, before the meeting, it was pointed out that there is actually a typo in one of the public hearing times. So if you want to incorporate in the motion that we will double check that and correct the public hearing time for the Midtown PUD, that would be appreciated.
I'll add what you just said.
Okay.
All right, so the amended motion from Dr. Kelleher and seconded by Kristen Berkman, I believe it was, incorporates a pending change to a timestamp. Will staff please call the roll?
Ms. Berkman?
Yes.
Mr. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Horkay?
Yes.
Mr. Johns?
Yes.
Dr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Maui?
Abstain, I was absent.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Will staff please review the rules and procedures for tonight's meeting, which do not include public hearing items?
Yes, since there are no public hearing items tonight, the items on the agenda will have the following structure. The department will summarize the petition and highlight any changes or modifications made since the item was last before the Plan Commission. The department will also describe what action, if any, is necessary to be taken. The petitioner will be given up to 15 minutes to present any changes, and the Plan Commission can then act upon the petition. For general rules of conduct, we ask that you please not disrupt the proceedings in any way. If you need to have a private discussion, we ask that you please quietly exit the room. Please silence your devices at this time, and again, if you must answer them, please quietly exit the room. We'd also like to remind everyone here to please speak directly into the microphone so your comments can be put onto the record, and also mute your microphone when you are not speaking. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight's meeting will be a little more abbreviated than it already was. The first item of business, Town Run PUD, has asked to be continued, and the miscellaneous item of business, the discussion of iBeach 31 at Grand Park PUD, has also requested to be discussed at a future meeting. So, moving on, we have two consent agenda items that are ready for approval. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in the staff reports.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. It has been moved by Andre Maui, seconded by Dr. Kelleher to approve the consent agenda. Will staff please call the roll?
Ms. Berkman?
Yes.
Mr. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Horkay?
Yes.
Mr. Johns?
Yes.
Dr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Maui?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The one item of business we have in front of us tonight is Midtown at Westfield, petition number 2206-ODP-05 and 2206-SPP-05. Staff report.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, members of the Plan Commission. For the record, Kevin Todd with the Community Development Department. This item before you this evening for overall development plan and primary plat approval for the Midtown of Westfield development, which is located approximately at the northeast corner of 191st Street and US 31. This item received its public hearing back on June 6th at the Plan Commission meeting on that date, and you have been provided some feedback from neighbors and some comments from neighbors that came in since that meeting that are part of your packet. And we've also forwarded those to the Hinkie Development Team as well. These items are ready for approval this evening as they're compliant with all of the applicable development standards. Members of the Hinkie Development Team are here this evening. I don't believe they plan to present, but are available if you have any questions. Thanks.
Thank you. There is no presentation, so we move right on to commissioner questions or comments. Are there any?
I just want to say thank you to Dane for sending us the meeting that the development team had with the neighbors. Thank you for doing that. It sounds like most of the questions were answered. I think a lot of them were not complaints so much as questions about what was going to happen here. So I appreciate that. I know that that land to the north of the creek or whatever it is there is all in floodplain, so it will not be developed. And based on whether it's permissible or not, there will be reforestation in as much of it as possible based on the DNR or soil and water. So thank you for clarifying all those things.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from commission members?
Really, I just wanted to say that I'm looking forward to our next meeting, because after your presentation introduction to what the hospital is going to look like, I'm really excited for this area. So thank you.
Thank you. If there is no other question or comment, this item is in front of us for a recommendation to council. Is there a motion for a recommendation?
I will make a motion to forward a positive recommendation to the city council for 2206-OD, I'm sorry, not a recommend, yeah, it is to the council.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, on 2206-ODP-05 and 2206-SPP-05.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
We have a motion from Dr.
Just to
Keller,
clarify,
seconded by...
to clarify, these are for approval.
It is approval, right?
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
On the agenda, it says recommendation.
Oh, sorry about that.
started to do that, and I thought,
Yeah.
for approval.
You're
Your
right, but-
instinct was right.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yep, approve with department conditions.
Obviously, I was, reading and not thinking here. And we did the same thing, yeah.
I read, and then I,
Yeah, that's why I hesitated.
So the motion is amended to an approval, I presume.
yes.
And the second is also
Yes.
amended to an approval. So, all right, now that we're on the right page, will staff please call the roll?
Mr. Horke?
Yes.
Mr. Johns?
Yes.
Dr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Maui?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Ms. Bergman?
Yes.
Mr. Deck?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That completes our items of business. Everything else on the agenda is continued to a future meeting. So it now takes us down to reports and comments. Are there any comments or miscellaneous reports from Plan Commission members?
I wanted to say something about iBeach. In our pre-APC meeting, we were told that the reason they wanted to have some discussion is they wanted a clearer picture on what the council and APC wanted. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that, and if they had thoughts on that, that's what they're looking for. More clarity.
Yes.
Sorry.
Which
No
I
problem.
thought we were pretty clear the last time they were here, but we need to repeat it.
Yeah, and I got an email asking me to kind of clarify the questions that I had raised or my comments about the roof material, and I responded to that. Excuse me. I see there's an exhibit specifically addressing that, but I wasn't able to
Yep.
open it. I don't know if anybody else could.
It was your email, and they have inserted responses to it.
Okay.
So if you
So I'll
can't,
look for that.
if you
Maybe
can't
you'll be able
open
to
it, let somebody know, and we'll forward it to you.
Yeah, and it sounds like in talking with representatives, they're really just trying to get the elevations in before they come back for discussion. So originally, they wanted comments prior to, and then I think they were kind of talked into holding off and waiting till they have more to show before they ask for more comments.
That's really appreciated. Yeah. All right. Moving on to, I guess, a downtown update from Kristen Berkman. Do you have something to report on this evening?
Yes, thank you. We're moving into the next stage of actually choosing the streetscape designs. So the team will be moving forward and working on that, as well as There's been discussion with a few key stakeholders, and the rest of the team will have further discussion on this, of hiring an outside landscape architect that can help do the technical drawings and some of the different specifications that we need to hand over to Structure Point as the State Road 32 project begins. So we're moving toward that, and next meeting or the one following, I should have more updates regarding a partner and how we're moving forward.
It's starting to get to the really exciting parts. All right. In the absence of Cindy Spolger, do we have a council update from Mike Johns?
I do. I can do the report. And as short as this meeting was, the meeting was exactly the opposite. We had, I think, our longest council meeting that we've ever had here, so on the 13th. So we'd had a number of special presentations. Chief Gaylor gave us a good presentation on the growth of the fire department, increasing demand for EMS and fire services. And we talked a lot about adding at least 2 more fire stations within the not-too-distant future. Caleb Ernest gave us a great report on the housing stock and where we sit as far as rooftops in the city of Westfield. And then we had 2 presentations, one from the city and one from the clerk's office on the continuous software issues regarding the computers. And at the end of that discussion, the administration agreed to remove the software from the clerk's computers. So we are, I think, moving forward to resolve that issue. Old business, the Ordinance 2215, the Chatham Hills PUD, Amendment 9 that we had approved, was approved by the council 6-0. The Unified Development Ordinance Amendment was also approved by the council 6-0. The council also approved the lease between the Westfield Building Corporation and the Westfield Redevelopment Commission, and that is the lease that has to do with the Union Square parking project. So that was also approved 6-0. And then the council took up for consideration the city of Westfield adopting a second-class city status. That will actually be up for adoption consideration next Monday, the 27th. We also looked at Ordinance 2224, and which is the vacation of right-of-way within the style Wright Meadows, which, as you know, is up there by Chatham Hills, just to the east of that. That was approved 6-0. Under new business, we had an update to the traffic ordinance, which was introduced. Also being introduced was the last step in the approval of the Union Square project, which is the issuance of certain economic development and lease rental bonds. So that will be coming before the council next week. Also introduction was the Midtown of Westfield PUD Amendment 1, and Woods Robinson Briggs PUD Amendment 2 was also introduced at the council, and I think we'll be hearing that probably next meeting. So it was a full meeting, to say the least.
Thank you. There was a BZA meeting as well.
Yes. We first welcome Noble Hatfield as a new member of the BZA, having been appointed by the council. So we now have we're back to having 5 members. I feel like he'll be a very good and productive member of BZA. The matters we considered, we approved findings of fact for the denial of the custom concrete matter that we had denied the variance the month before. This is their property on 193rd Street where they were storing gravel. The other petitions, full petitions we heard, McDonald's at 151st and 31 on Thatcher Lane, they are knocking that building down and rebuilding, and consequently needed some variance of standards to construct the building that they want to construct. That building was 40 years old, so it's kind of surprising when you think about that that's been there that long, and you can see how that business has changed so much that that building was obsolete in the way it was organized internally. So it all made sense what they wanted to do. That was approved. a church at 18515 Union Street, across from the high school baseball field on the other side of Union Street. They wanted a temporary gravel lot to supplement their paved parking. That was approved. A property at 1744 Little Eagle Creek Avenue was, they needed a variance to locate a barn 10 feet into the setback. Those properties all are affected by the flood zone for the Little Eagle Creek, so they almost have no usable space in their backyards. So they were essentially rebuilding a garage that had been there but needed a variance to do so. Property at 191st and Moontown Road is putting in essence, an accessory building, but I think it was a 3-car garage or 2-car garage, attractive setup. They have 2 front yards because they're on the corner, and they needed a 3-foot setback and a 100-foot setback line. So not much of a 3-foot variance to a 100-foot setback. And finally, last item was BMO Harris is when they take out their branch for the 32 expansion rather, they're going to relocate a branch to one of those medical office buildings on the north side of 32 where there's a chiropractor. It might be Whitler's office set up there, kind of by Dartown Road. Anyway, they're going to locate a branch there temporarily for a couple of years while they construct a new one, and they needed a few variances in order to have a ATM, a walk-up ATM next to their door. So that was granted, and that was it.
Thank you. Really have to know where to look at McDonald's to find the 40-year-old building, though, because I was added on to quite a few times over the years. Too.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, it's definitely
It's had
past
several.
its prime.
Yep.
So, all right. That completes all of our agenda items for tonight. Is there a motion? Or you have something else to bring up?
Bob, I've got one last comment.
Sure.
We, at the council meeting, as I mentioned, Caleb Ernest did a wonderful report on housing stock. And I would really recommend that we have him give that report to our body here.
And that is anticipated in the future, but it was going to be targeted for a workshop meeting.
Perfect.
So it's over there somewhere,
really
but we can't quite see it.
Excellent job, so.
In the meantime, it is on the council. The
Yeah.
presentation can be brought up if you go to the council meeting,
Yeah, there's
including
a
the
PowerPoint file.
Right.
Yep.
So, did you have something else to comment on, Kristen? Oh, same question. Yeah. Okay, it's coming. We don't know when yet, but it's coming. So now, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Motion by Victor McCarty, and is there a second?
No, I'll second.
Oh, yeah, you talked too. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Make sure you get your name in the minutes. Okay, we have a motion from Victor McCarty, second by Matt Deck. Can staff please call the roll?
Dr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Mr. Maui?
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz?
Yes.
Ms. Berkman?
Yes.
Mr. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Horkey?
Yes.
Mr. Johns?
Yes.
We are adjourned.
7:18 PM.